Hello and welcome to K-Stop, Fuse's K-Pop podcast. Hello, everybody. This is Jeff Benjamin, and as always, I'm joined by the brave girl to my brave boy, Tina Zoo.
Hey. Welcome to another episode of K-Stop.
Hey.
We have some really exciting releases to talk about, as always.
Yes, we do. Tina, where'd my phone go? Oh, there it is.
There it is.
Sorry, we keep everything, all the important stuff.
Yeah, we got to pull up some info on there later.
Yes. So sorry for the delay. Just one moment. Bear with us. Tina, you've been having a good week?
I have been having a pretty decent week.
Yeah. Tina's birthday's
today
coming
I'm
up.
very my birthday's in a few days. So that's like both exciting and kind of sad because no one wants to turn older after a certain point, I guess.
Oh my gosh, age is awesome, Tina. I love.
But yeah, today I'm a little low energy since it's a dreary Tuesday when we were recording this.
It is.
So yeah, a little sleepy, I guess, but not too sleepy to talk about these very exciting releases.
Hell no.
We gotta obviously get into some comments.
Yes.
Let's get those ready.
Yeah, they are ready. Yes, thank you guys. You guys always know all the ways to interact with K-Stop. Hit us up. Well, lots of people use Twitter, so we'll just kick that off. I'm at Jeff _ Benjamin on Twitter.
And I'm at hey_Tina with 3 A's.
Yes, and you use the hashtag K-Stop to interact with us. We see your comments on views.tv, on iTunes. We see it all. But shout out to Vancity K-Pop, who is at Rachel_Gray31, who responded to, I believe this was our deep cut last week about Hyolin's EDM deal, or sort of EDM record deal with Spinnin' Records, which was really cool and interesting.
The Jekyll and Hyde preview.
Yeah. When's that song? That song comes out this week, right?
I
think
don't
so.
know.
Or it's coming out soon. I think I saw like the 11th or something like that.
Okay.
But maybe this Friday. But yeah, so their comment was, if Hyolin's EDM deal doesn't stop solo and group activities, then I have no qualms about her involvement. But question, can her voice shine in EDM?
And that's exactly what we were talking about last week,
Yeah.
because from the preview clip, it did not sound like it was shining, not in the way that we are so used to hearing.
Yeah.
So as of now, it seems like the production is drowning out her beautiful voice. So, but you know what? Maybe, I guess they didn't confirm if it would. I guess it would be multiple singles, right? This is just the first one.
Yeah.
Maybe this is something that's just they think will really appeal to the masses.
Oh, that's the thing, is that I don't want it to be my biggest concern with these things is that it all sounds great, people are coming out, exciting new deal, and then the first single is very just pandering to trying to make something work, and then they're like, oh, this is clearly not gonna work. Bye.
And then it loses interest there.
Yeah. So I don't want it to be dead in the water, dead upon arrival. But
I love her, so I think regardless of what.
Yeah.
Even if I'm disappointed with this initial release, if she puts out something to follow up, I will still be very interested in seeing where she goes from there.
Yeah.
I think just seeing her career trajectory and everything is always fascinating.
Yeah. No, I mean, even the more I think about it, she's going to be at South by Southwest next week. We'll talk about South by Southwest next week, I'm sure. She's doing a concert.
The timing does work out very
well,
so.
It's cool stuff going on. So I'm very it's a exciting time to be Hyolin. And I'm sure we have that Sistar comeback slated for this summer, I'm sure.
Which I will never be mad at. I need that breezy, summery, I need another Lovin' You.
We all need another Lovin' You.
That, I don't even rollerblade. I'm I'm gonna go buy rollerblades and go rollerblade in the in the sunshine.
Yeah, K-pop doesn't get more happier or more just feel
just good vibes.
Good vibes in that.
Good vibes only.
Touch My Body was very close though. Love that one. Touch my body. Yes, and then actually, I need to save this comment because it's about one of the releases we're discussing this week. Yeah, and then otherwise, sorry, I'm a little all over the place today. I don't know why I'm feeling so crazy during K-Stop. But in any case, yes, and to unless there was something else, I think there was. We also ask you guys, as always, to vote on your favorite release
Oh yes.
of the week. And
See
last
who
week,
came out on top.
yeah, last week was a pretty good variety. I thought we had Taeyeon, of course. We had
Mm-hmm.
Code Kuntz with his Tableau and G Soul collaboration, and we had Gugudan. And who ended up with number one? But wow, this is surprising. Code Kuntz with
Really?
Tableau and G Soul. Yeah, I wonder where that support came from. YG stands maybe. People
I feel
wanting
like every week the
Every-
poll results are just the opposite of what I anticipate them to
I know what you
be,
mean.
which is fine.
It is fine. It's very fine. Speaking of fine,
Speaking of
Taeyeon's
fine.
fine came in second place with 15% of the votes.
I watched her comeback performances,
Oh.
and they're pretty solid. She kind of struggled on, I think, the first one,
Uh-oh.
but
What songs did she sing?
I think she probably did a second one, but I
Oh,
only saw
But you didn't see
fine.
it.
I only saw fine on my feed because my feed, like when you're in the YouTube app, it'll like recommend things
Yeah,
that you'll
right.
probably want
And
to.
you've been obsessed with Fine.
Yeah, I've watched Fine like I don't know, like 85 times. So, but no, she
Nice.
sounds great. She looks great.
Yay,
Yeah.
good. I'm glad to hear it. Yeah, I've been
Stay a brunette.
okay, Tina. Just yelling that into the
Stay a
abyss.
brunette.
Yeah, I've been all over. Or I've been traveling this weekend, so I actually haven't gotten a chance to check out the stages and everything. But I will.
Jeff's been
It's-
across the pond.
I've been across the pond. I was actually doing stuff with Japanese artists, which is interesting.
Yes.
Very different, but very fun. You can read all about it on views.tv. Thanks for that promo. And then last but not least, Gugudan did come in third place with 5%, respectable for a new group. But
Indeed.
I like this mix this week. I think it's pretty fun.
Yeah.
Two very different girl groups and then a very different boy band. So
Yeah.
let's just get ourselves right into it, Tina.
Right
Who
into
is
it.
first on our new releases week?
I think this one's the freshest. So let's get into Brave Girls.
Brave,
Brave Girls made our, best of 2016 picks.
Yes, we were obsessed with their
love
comeback.
Deepened.
Deepened, yes.
And
And
what
they've
did they
been-
release before this? Sorry, I'm blanking.
Yeah, they released. They've been. We haven't covered all of their releases, but they released a single called "High Heels."
Right.
They released this
which we
this summer
were
single.
torn on, I think.
Yeah, I think we were torn, and
Iffy.
then we released this. They also released this summer single "Yoo-Hoo," which I actually only very recently got into.
Okay.
It's very random, but it randomly came back on like Apple's Music or something, or Apple Music or something as a
Mhm.
recommendation. I was like, oh, I love this.
Yeah.
I was like, it kind of sounds like a Sistar song, but
Right.
I listen to it like all the time.
Yeah, and so they're back with, I believe, their fourth mini album, right? Yeah, four.
Something like
Four.
that. This group has taken on a lot of
Yeah. So the
lives.
title track is called Rollin'.
rolling,
And we've
rolling,
been seeing,
rolling.
these gorgeous teaser photos. Kind of, it looked like a darker concept, and
Mhm.
and which is funny because the concept is a little bit more like sultry, but the song itself is more of an EDM influenced
Mhm.
dance pop song, I
Mhm.
guess you can say. And so on first listen, I wasn't sure. I was like, I think I like it.
Yeah.
And the more I listened to it, the more I liked it because I was like focusing on the different elements of the song, and
Yeah.
I really like because that kind of the production they use kind of reminded me of, if you remember when Justin Bieber came out with "Where Are You Now" and what's that one? Shit. Dun,
what do
dun,
you
dun.
mean?
What do you? I was like, dun 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 dun. What do you mean? It had that kind of like really high pitched tone, and I feel like I heard a bit of that in
Oh.
Rollin', but in the background just repeating. And I don't know.
Interesting.
I don't know. You'll have to go back and listen to it, but
Yeah.
for some reason it reminded me
curious.
of that vibe. And the more I listen to it, the more I like it. I think I really like the song itself.
Yeah, I think I listened to it like just without the music video and stuff at first.
Right. I'm
And
trying to do that more because the
yeah.
visuals really do affect how you.
It's true. It's so true. Yeah, I try to do as much as I can. Sometimes we get pressed for time, of
Right.
course. But the world is crazy. Life is beautiful, but crazy, Tina.
Thank you for those words of wisdom.
Stop, never forget. Okay. But yeah, I think I love kind of sort of or sort of subtle club beats, whatever,
Yeah.
kind of, and that's kind of what they're giving here. It's not a mind-blowing production or anything like that, strictly instrumentally, but I don't know, there's a lot of like interesting sort of curious things going on. In particular, the little yodel section. Do you know what I'm referring to in the chorus?
Yeah.
Where there's this like part where I'm like, I think that's a yodel. Or like,
is that what I'm referring to? I don't know. I actually like. Now I'm just kind of like confusing myself as to what you're referring to when I'm referring to.
Oh my gosh!
But it's something higher pitch, or I have a higher.
The kind of like la 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 like.
Maybe it's that I'm referring to.
Maybe
because I just haven't heard them do anything like that.
Yeah,
before.
no, I think we are referring to
We're
the same thing. It's like it comes up a couple times, right?
Yeah,
and it's kind of Yeah, and it kind of, I think, okay, so what I got confused about is with Justin Bieber's, I think his was like a synthesizer, but I think theirs is either a voice sample or their own voices or something. But it's like, it's a little like jarring, but it's cool, and it kind of like adds like sort of this energetic kick to it that makes me kind of feel like, oh yeah, it's weird, but it's cool.
And I did like, I don't know the rapper's name, but whoever did the rap line, just at the very top of the chorus. I like that. I thought that really like packed a punch. So
she's cool. Yeah, she did really well in what's it called, Deep in 2. I think I remember really liking her section too.
Yeah.
Let's figure out her name.
The chorus wasn't annoying because I feel like when I first saw that the title track was called Rollin', I was like, this could go so many ways.
It's true. It could have been a Lip Biscuit.
It could have been like a Rookie situation where they just repeated it nonstop and just like drives you crazy, or drives me crazy at least. But no, I felt like nothing was too over the top. And it flowed fairly well, I feel like.
Yeah.
Given the fact that it did have kind of EDM elements, which can be jarring.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, it's certainly not the smoothest song in the world, but I think it worked together in like a pop EDM sort of way. And I ended up really, I don't know, I'm like, I've been playing it a lot. There's other songs on the EP too that have a very similar feel.
To them.
They have a similar feel, and they do get a little. They're a little you could switch one for the other. Okay. But I do think there's something very fun and energetic, or at least upon first listen, I was like, oh, is this the single, or is this another song?
So there's not much R&B hip hop influence.
It doesn't at least from what I listened to Memory, and I think I listened to Rush. Okay. No Rush, I mean, and and then they do a remix of High Heels. That actually is a little more R&B. Oh, okay. So you might like that. Okay. But Yuna's her name, by the way, the rapper. But let's switch it over then to the video. Okay. Because this one, I don't know. I mean, I was just... Oh, actually, wait. Before that, of course, we actually do have a comment about...
yes, we do.
The video. And this came from... it came from What Will Said at WELILE_21. And he hit us up with the hashtag K-Stop. He said, Brave Sound got Brave girls out here looking like an AOA tribute band. If you listen close enough, you hear Jamin's iconic... He put a TM on there. That was funny. Haze. I'm jamming, but it feels so dated. The concept, the tropical, 2016 beat, and the music video, Yu Jung came to slay, though. And... I mean, 2016 isn't that old, just say. It's not that long ago.
Like, he's like, oh, that's so last season.
Like, oh my God, it's 3 months ago. We love you, What Will Said.
Hilarious, yeah. I didn't even like pick up on that.
Yeah, but no, I mean, I think what we were kind of also saying too is it doesn't reinvent the wheel of sound or anything like that. It's very of the moment. My sort of issue with it actually in terms of being dated was just this how sexy it got, and just how the sexy concept was a thing. Maybe that was really big. What, 2013, 2014? That was like the thing back then. Like a lot of groups were getting noticed then, and
Okay.
they just
Yeah.
really went for it. Like, I don't know, even like the moments where they're like all like I didn't really like how they were all like laying on each other and like
It was.
it
I
felt a little.
can't see that. That's one of the scenes where I didn't really know what to think. It really didn't fit the rest of the video. I didn't
Yes,
because the
that's my
song,
issue too.
right? Because the song is about like trying to get this boy's attention, right? And
Mm.
if you don't notice me, I might leave or something, and then blah blah blah, and you'll miss your opportunity. So like that whole thing, it just kind of came out of nowhere. But I will say, for what it is, they did it like tastefully, and they looked beautiful. And I feel like at least all with the aesthetically, like color wise, they were, it was a lot of neutrals. It was, they all like the solids, and they looked good. Like they looked uniform.
Yeah.
So I guess from like a composition standpoint, I didn't mind it. It was just really random.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, I mean, I don't know. I'm just like, it almost. Well,
Sorry,
go ahead.
No,
No, it's just like the sexy thing. Just, I mean, yeah, I think there was a definite look and feel to the video, and
Yeah.
like sort of the overall aesthetic that was going on, which I always appreciate, and like but I don't know, the sexy thing. It just felt a little like try hard almost,
Yeah.
like they're trying to just go on this trend that sort of has died down a bit, and
Right.
it's like no, like you could bring something fresher to this, too, and
I'm sorry. I just had to say that the scenes where they're all laying on each other, that's probably the least of their worries for
mm,
this video. I thought this video was a mess.
really.
Like I really thought it was terrible. I
Which
thought
parts,
it
like the
didn't make
dancing?
sense. I thought the random vampire
Oh, I hated
lunar
that. Yeah,
eclipse shit was really random.
yeah,
The effects were corny and dated.
yeah. The
They looked
eyes did
like
not look real.
Yeah, they looked like they were really struggling with I think it was the stools that really made it
Oh,
awkward. They couldn't
yeah,
get them better stools of better height. They were
yeah.
too low. So they
You're
were
right.
bending over. I get you're trying to do the sexy chair dance. You can't make it look kind of sexy and have fluidity
Yeah,
when the stools are so low.
yeah. Oh, I
It
see what
just
you're
looked
saying.
very awkward.
Yeah.
The whole thing, I feel like deepened. It's not like deepened. They exhibited very impressive dance moves, but they showed a fluidity
Uh huh.
in that music video that they did not have in this video.
I
Like I
agree.
felt like the formations were weird. They were
It
kind of like
was.
awkwardly like moving from. It's almost like you're like a step behind when you're like, "Oh, I'm on this side, but shit, I should be on the other side now."
Yeah.
And the whole thing just felt awkward.
Yeah, I know. Like, I'm even thinking about like on the hook where they do that sort of like thing with their arms and
Yeah,
they're
and
sort of
they're like
walking.
I'm like, "What? You can't see me doing that right now,
Yeah.
but it's like
Well, it just looked like that was sort of a moment to like get a little like freestyly and like get to your next position,
yeah.
but they
Yes,
weren't.
exactly.
For whatever reason, it was not coming together in a believable way.
Right. It was just like 1 and 2 and 3 and 4. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
The whole
it
thing
didn't
just
have.
felt very awkward. And then they stood on top of the stool
Yeah,
and did the body rolls. I'm like,
yeah.
can't you can do the body rolls on the floor. I don't see how getting on top of the stools adds anything except it just makes me uncomfortable.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that like it just ultimately my issue was I just this was one of my notes is that it lacked personality ultimately. Like I didn't
Yeah.
get a sense that I knew who this group was or
Mhm.
that they were going to shine in any way. And this group, it's like the history is so. I mean, they just now they came back. They were doing 7 members last year. Now they've lost 2 or one's gone. The 2 oldest one's
Mhm.
gone and one's like on permanent hiatus
Oh
or
my
something like that.
god.
And like or like something like that. She's like technically in
Complex.
the group but not there. And I'm just like I like this one I'm still confused why this group needed to come back in the way they did, where you only kept 2 original members and then had 5 new members. But
Right.
now they're essentially an entirely new group. I would have said just rebrand them as just something different and whatnot. But
Mhm.
here we are, trying to keep the Brave Girls brand alive, and
Right.
I just don't get it most of the time.
Yeah. What are your thoughts on their styling?
I didn't like it.
You
I didn't
didn't
think it
like
was
it?
flattering.
Okay. I like can't I'm torn. I like I said, I like neutrals and there were a
Mhm.
lot of neutrals in here, so I thought they looked at least sleeker, but then I look at like the skirt with the slit up the thigh and
Yeah.
that just looked very 90s to me.
Mm. Yeah, those long sleeve shirts were not doing them any
Yeah.
favors, and I like the fishnets, I do, but
I was about to say I don't really like the
oh,
fish.
really?
I don't
I'm
know.
always a fan of fishnets,
I
but
don't know.
that's
Maybe
just
all
me.
of it together is what bothered me. It just looked
Maybe.
a little tacky.
Yeah, I mean,
So
I agree with what
the
with
makeup looked great.
yeah, I was gonna say I agree with what Will said. Say that Yu Jung did come to slay. You know, I couldn't take my eyes off her. So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, I'm like rooting for them. Always like their releases more or less,
Mhm.
but I'm just kind of like
Yeah.
you know,
They're
I
hit or
want it.
miss for me,
I want it
but
to be, yeah, I want it to be, you know, I want them to prove why they have their place in K-pop. You know,
yeah.
we've said this, you know, with a lot of newer groups, you know, you can't even really, I don't even know if I can call them new because they're technically been around for a while, but I don't know. But
Right.
prove to me why you deserve to be here.
Right. I agree. It's like it's always concerning and a little bit frustrating when there is a group that who you had and have high hopes for
Mm.
and you know what they can do, but they just perpetually seem like they're a rookie.
Yeah.
Right? They just
Yes.
perpetually feel like they're still at that rookie level and they can't get past that hump.
Yeah. So many groups get like that. You
Right.
know, like who?
And
I
I
don't.
mean,
I don't
I'm
want
not
to name
saying that
names,
Brave
but
Girls is that because I feel like Deepen did put them on a different level, but then
yeah.
this feels like I would say it's a step back.
Yeah.
I
And
don't I mean, I like the song, I do. I
mhm.
just don't think this is going to cut it to,
Yeah, well, that's the
know.
thing. I like. Yeah. I mean, like their songs are not like really charting and things like that. So I just don't know what the end game is. But
Right, right.
I'll be rooting for them. If you,
But long
yeah,
story short, we do rock with the song for the most
yes,
part.
mostly we'll be
Yeah,
yodeling
mostly.
all week. Let us know. Let us
We
know
have
if
to
you.
re-examine that part.
Yeah, we got to figure out what exactly
what
that
is
is.
happening?
Please let us know what you guys think of Yodelgate, and let us know if we're crazy or not.
Move on.
Yes. Who's next on the list?
Let's get into our boy band of the
Our
week.
boy band of the week.
The anticipated comeback of B.A.P.
Mm-hmm.
Who last time we talked about, they gave us Skydive, correct?
Yes.
I think I kept calling it something else.
Skyfall. Maybe we were
Skyfall.
calling it Skyfall. I feel like.
I think I said Skyfall. I was like,
Yeah.
no, that's a movie. So yeah, Skydive was very, very intense, very graphic, very
Yeah.
violent.
Mhm.
And I think I was like iffy on the song itself.
Yeah.
So this time they are back with something also very, very kind of dark, very heavy, but
Mhm.
not violent for the most part.
Yeah.
The song is "Wake Me Up," and I think is the EP called Rose.
Yes.
Okay, I haven't gotten a chance to listen to the
Me
EP.
neither. Me neither.
But "Wake Me Up" is more or less what I expect BAP to drop. Like it's a very BAP-esque song. I think it is catchy and I like the message.
Yeah.
If you ask me would I listen to it a lot, I don't know if I would. But
Really?
I appreciate the message and I appreciate the music video more so than anything.
Yeah, because honestly, I listen to this and I am just going to full out admit it.
Yeah.
I am a BAP fan. I really do. They have so many great songs, so many like awesome songs, but I was like anxious to listen because I remember that it was just there was a 10-minute video for Skyfall or
It was
Skydive.
so
I was
long.
just, you know, it was so violent. It was so
Yeah.
intense. I was prepared. I like felt like I needed to prepare myself
Yeah.
for whatever was coming, you know?
Right.
And like I saw the teaser image and or the music video image. I was like,
Right.
this also looks intense.
Right, you're like, oh, this.
Oh boy, I
You're like,
better.
this shit might get This
Yeah,
might escalate very
I know. I
quickly.
better like get my Xanax ready.
Yeah.
Like I am,
So
I
true.
here I
That's too
go.
real.
And I was actually so pleasantly like surprised from like
Mhm.
even those opening notes. I really feel like this was BAP's like definitely probably their most accessible song
That's true.
to date, you know.
Accessible is accurate. Yeah.
Yeah, but not in a way that felt like they were being cheesy or pandering
No.
or just trying to get a hit for the sake of getting a hit. Like it still felt very them, like you were saying, but had this sort of really nice sound to it, very polished, had a
Mhm.
hook to it, but it wasn't like a hook that
Right.
makes you want to throw up over how catchy it
Right.
is.
The
Like,
hook is pretty solid on this
yeah,
song.
it's so solid. And so like automatically I was like, okay. I was like, phew.
You're like,
All right, I'm okay. I'm
yeah.
like I'm not feeling like I literally just like, survived,
Right. Right.
whatever. I don't
Right.
know.
Exactly.
But yeah, and then the music video too. I absolutely love the music video too
Right.
because it for right from the back I notice a really, the guys look awesome, they look great, but there was a very diverse cast of people from like the very
I
put
should
your
hold
mic
my
by
mic.
your
Yeah, I was like, my mic like was on my lap. I was like, yes.
you're like exactly, Jeff. Just like uh yeah, like and I well maybe we can get into this in a moment or something, but I felt like it was sort of speaking to this idea of mental health, which is something very personal to this group because if we talked about this before, Jungkook had literally sat out of the previous promotions because of
Anxiety.
anxiety and things like that, and so I felt
And to
like
be and to officially release a statement saying you need to sit out, that means it must have been really bad.
yeah, so this is sort of this group kind of owning who they are, where they are. This is a group that does, write and produce their own music,
Mhm.
especially Jungkook. I think he did Skyfall and then couldn't even promote it, just
Mhm.
for whatever reason. So it's really cool to see all that kind of come together in something that I
Right.
think was just really well done, well packaged, well created.
Foot's falling asleep. Sorry. Yeah, and I feel like this word is sometimes overused, but I do appreciate how they have been very unapologetic about
Mm.
the fact that they are addressing these issues and that
Yeah.
it's not addressed enough in K-pop. Um, and yeah, going back to the unexpected kind of diversity and content of the music video.
Yeah.
At first, I wasn't sure like what they were going for, what was happening, but I think they just wanted to be universal in this and that
Mm.
and apply this message to as many people as they could because they realize that their fans come from all different backgrounds,
Especially BAP, who's
Yeah.
gone probably on like more world tours than
Right, right, right,
I
right.
think they're about to go on like their fourth or third
Right.
world
So
tour.
this makes so much sense, in this case especially.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Yeah, the cast, like you said, very diverse. There was a black male, a black female,
Mhm.
a white female. I don't know what else. I'm probably
I feel
missing
like
a
we saw
bunch.
like it was someone who's either from Latin America,
Right.
South, or some type of or like a Arab from Arab area or something like that.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think, and
Just things we don't really see in K-pop
right,
videos.
right. Because I mean, I feel like in K-pop and in East Asian media in general, they tend to prefer to showcase, white people, right?
Right. If it's
They
not someone, if it's not a Korean person,
Right.
it
It's
goes to a
usually a
white
white
person.
person.
Yeah.
It's just part of the culture. They tend to gravitate toward, Caucasians. So, you definitely don't see a lot of black Latin people
Mm-mm.
featured in music videos or in Korean culture or society in general. So, and what I found really interesting was the concept of retaliation and revolution in this
Mm-hmm.
video. And I mean that's the most, I guess, intense and violent that this video got, right? Where they showed people getting on the cars and smashing the windows in and trying to
Yeah.
fight back. And I guess my take of it was that they're trying to fight back against like what pressures society sets on you and
Yeah.
expectations and
Right. And I loved that, I think it's like towards like the bridge was like the man and the car or outside the car with the emotional revolution sign.
Yes.
It wasn't revolution, it was emotional revolution. It was
Mm-hmm.
kind of like rethinking, the way we whatever, shape our emotions or think about or feel, And
Right.
I thought that was really cool too because, if you just had the sign revolution, it would have been like, okay, we get it.
Right.
But it said emotional revolution. I was like,
Yeah.
Okay, BAP.
And yeah, every character in that video let out their emotions, in different ways. And just going back to the topic of mental illness, and a lot of people feel like they can't let their emotions out, or they don't know how to deal with them.
Yeah. No, exactly. And like, in the end, there were a lot of interesting things going on. Like, things that it kind of took me a little bit to like wrap my head around sometimes. Like, like the scene with like the woman who was kind of preparing food, and then like a lot of the food had maggots on it. Like,
There were maggots.
yeah, those were maggots. Yeah, because
Oh
she starts
God, I'm
freaking
glad I
out
missed
and
that,
like
because the maggots are just they're vile.
they are vile. Oh,
Oh
I
my
100%
gosh.
agree. And it was a really striking scene. And, I was wondering if that was almost like trying to speak to like eating disorders or people who like have weird relationships with food and stuff like that.
Oh,
Like
interesting,
it was
yeah.
like a lot of things that made you sort of
There
wonder,
are a lot
like,
of layers there.
yeah. And like, I wanted to explore more and more of it and, just wonder, maybe even like, I want to like talk to the band or talk to whoever created the video just about like what all these people were showing, because it wasn't just
Yeah.
one or two storylines. It was like a dozen or so.
Right.
But in the end, they're all kind of smiling with that rose in the end. What
Mm-hmm.
did you think that represented? Because I'm,
A hope.
yeah, or like I don't know why they were holding the rose. Maybe it was literally just to represent that their album
Represent
cover.
the album concept. I
but
actually have not, dived into the concept of the rose for this for their comeback, and what that means to them. So
yeah, yeah, maybe
if
there's
anyone knows.
Yeah, if I'm just, thinking metaphorically right now, because this is how my mind works, like a rose is beautiful, but also has
Has
thorns. So
thorns,
there's
yeah.
good and bad. And, they're realizing that there's issues, but they're ultimately, there is good in the world.
That works
blah,
for
blah.
me.
That works for me. Yeah. So, I'm really, really curious. Yeah. I mean, there's 2 new songs that come with this little single EP, mini album, whatever you want to call it, sort of release. And yeah, I don't know. I just think it was a really good move for BAP. I'm really satisfied with it. I think, yeah, like I was saying, it's accessible, and I would love this to be like a new chapter for BAP.
Yeah.
Kind of like stuff that is very personal to them, very touching to them. Not to say that the past stuff wasn't, but
This one just feels like there's more direction
yes,
to it.
uh-huh,
The other one just felt like it was more for show,
uh-huh,
and I
uh-huh,
didn't get a whole lot from it.
100%.
There was like
yeah.
they it looked like on the surface level that they delivered a lot, but then I personally just didn't get much out of it, other than like there's just a lot of visuals happening right now.
Exactly.
I don't really know what to take from that. Whereas this, they kind of dialed it back a little bit.
Yeah,
Really
to their advantage.
yeah.
Yeah.
Really honed in on their message. So
So there you go. BAP, nice work. Yeah.
BAP.
Let us know what you guys think,
Yes.
of course. And last but not least, we got
Another girl group, but very
another,
different.
but very different girl group.
Yes.
It is none other than the GFriends.
That's
The GFriend themselves. GFriend.
who I guess made waves with their hit Rough, which sounds like the most generic happy-go-lucky song I've ever heard.
Wow,
And I
Tina.
did not like. So I was very apprehensive with this release. I saw generally positive feedback on my timeline on Twitter.
Well, don't forget about Navilera.
Oh my
Or
God, we covered that, and I also
Yeah.
hated that one. So
right. Oh my gosh. Fun fact, that song also actually it didn't grow on it grew on me. Like they performed it all the year-end award shows, and
I
it like
missed
it like
that.
came back to me, I really just love that pre-chorus. I think I
Okay.
talked about that last time too. I was just like, but
So I, with this release, which is called Fingertip,
fingertip.
I am like I said, I'm trying to listen to things more before watching the music video, because I think that's what turned me off the most about GFriend. They are just a little too girly, childlike for me. And because, like, I think I mentioned this in the previous episode that we talked about them on, about Naviera.
Whatever that word is. Such a bizarre word. Sorry.
I didn't like the way they were styled and like what they were wearing, and they were like, dancing all like, you know, in sync with like the socks and the loafers, and it just looked
pulling
little
a teddy bear.
It looked a little too schoolgirl like to me. It was uncomfortable.
That was their thing, for a moment.
So this time I was like, let me just listen to the song first. And the song actually, like, I don't love it, but I don't dislike it. It's I appreciate how it has this really like 70s groove to it that I really like.
Yeah.
That I did not expect from them, and I could see that this is where they decided, okay, let's switch it up a little bit, deliver something different. Then I watched a music video, very warily, of course, and didn't actually hate it.
Hey.
And I'm saying this relatively, right? Compared to their previous releases, I kind of like this one.
Yes.
They switched up the styling.
Yeah.
Oh, sorry. I guess like I got right into the music video instead of
You're fine.
whatever. But
continue on. I love this. Stand for GFriend, Tina. Go on.
Stand. All right. We're clearly
Go
redefining words
on.
now. Go off, Tina.
Yeah, that's what I meant. Not on. Go off.
Yeah, it's just there were a lot of awkward parts because the dancing in here is very different from the dancing of their previous videos.
Oh,
you could tell they were trying to go a little bit like cleaner with the moves, like go harder, more aggressive, and that was just very awkward to me. I was like, oh my god, it's just, what is happening? What is happening? Ah.
Yeah.
I don't know if you felt that way. So
yeah, I mean,
'cause I know you more or less kind of like them.
They grew, so I think this is a step up from the last release, because I wasn't feeling that one, and I think I still, I liked Rough, and I thought Rough was really good. I didn't really like Navilera or whatever it is, and except for like moments of it in the song, and I didn't like the concept either. Like I just sort of, I kind of like saw where they were going with it, but I just wasn't totally sold. But this one I do really like. I think all of it is actually kind of pretty well executed too. I love the I don't know, like this is sort of my whole thing, is that like this might be very general or like generalization, but with GFriend, like they had the schoolgirl looks. They were very gym uniforms, school uniforms, whatever it is. Then they kind of graduated to like fun summery stuff, but still very girl. And now they're still uniform, but they have like this sort of military or like soldier looks to them, or they have some like camouflage stuff to them. And I'm like, okay, so this is them. They're sort of, and it's the same sounds, but it's continues to progress, and it feels almost like a little more mature, and like still has that throwback element to it. I love the pre-chorus on this one. I'm like obsessed with it. Also, they just have really nice pre-choruses. I don't just like
clearly
the one. I think it's her name is escaping me right now, but there's one girl who just has this really beautiful delivery that always feels very exciting, and really draws me in. But
I do feel like I feel like their production definitely like amped up a little bit on this single, and I like the beat of this one a lot more.
Yeah, it's a little funky.
Yeah, and I like that. I guess I prefer them more up tempo, maybe.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like that they went a little funkier, and it's funny because a lot of people criticize them for staying within this little bubble of girliness and all of that, and then they tried this, and I still see a lot of people who are complaining that whatever complaints they have about this release, that they're trying too hard, or they blah blah blah. I'm like, well, what do you really want them to do? I feel like for my complaints, which were I didn't like the childlike innocence, all of that, and I appreciate them stepping outside their comfort zone. And this is, I feel like this is the most that they could really do
the most badass
to like
form of
I
GFriend
guess
so far.
appease the critics, right?
Yeah.
Without losing their identity.
Right,
So.
like the shooting stuff or whatever, laser guns was really fun, fun enough. I wasn't obsessed with it, but I still liked it enough. I thought the styling was pretty cool too. I would love that they have finally broken out of this, pure hair or what. I don't know. I just always feel like when every member basically has the same hair color, it's like, they went reds and blondes and light browns this time. Like, they really like look striking, and they look really beautiful too. Actually, I think they look really stunning.
It's good, yeah. I did like the uniform black look.
Yeah, I love
it
that
looked
one.
very sleek.
I love the camouflage one
especially
too.
set against the multicolored,
Yeah,
very aggressive fingertip word backdrop. A lot of pastels, a lot of neons.
Yeah.
What did you think of that really random break at like the 3-minute mark where it was no music and they were just like in space or next to flowers and it was just zooming in on their faces?
Yeah.
Was that just for the purpose of serving face?
I think that was them like showing off. They're like, look, we have a little more budget, we can like let's just show all the
extra like
the
20
effects.
Seconds of effects.
Yeah, exactly. It's just I felt like they were just showing off at that point.
I like went back because I think I was listening to the video first.
Oh, I see.
So then all of a sudden there was
there's
more music and I was like, what is happening?
Oh gosh. Yeah, I don't know what was up with that, to be honest, but I feel like they were just showing off. But I don't know. I definitely think it's a step up from the last release. I like what they're doing, and I really do. I don't know. Like this is kind of what I was talking about a little bit before, but I feel like there is sort of like, and this is how I think a lot of people feel about BTS and like maybe groups like GOT7 and 17 too. Like there seems to be a trajectory that these groups are sort of there's a trajectory. Lots of times K-pop, and maybe this is like more like someone like Brave Girls, where like it's sort of like we're gonna release something and we choose a concept and that's that, and you'll do the concept and that works. It's totally fine.
Mm-hmm.
But with GFriend, it feels like there's this sort of like ideal, like they kind of know where they're going with this group, and like they have these ideas. They're gonna be the uniform group, they're gonna be the synthy throwback group, they're gonna they're going to keep progressing and keep evolving, but there's gonna be these sort of elements that we're gonna keep with them, and it's going to all sort of
I feel that.
And I think K-pop's getting smarter and more artistic in that way versus like, this is not a knock to Girls' Generation or something like that. But like Girls' Generation like always came out with like a big concept, and but they were very rarely ever like related to one another, Like they were still huge, and but they maybe got more mature as things went on, but I almost feel like that's like the 1.0 version. This 2.0 version is sort of like thinking about the group as the overall brand, how this group is evolving in and of themselves. I don't know. This is just something I'm talking out loud right now. It just kind of came to me.
It's just funny that you brought up Girls' Generation because I did see comparisons between the two.
Well, right. I think that's why it's in my head too.
Yeah.
Because they came out very Girls' Generation-esque with that song, and it sounded very much like Into the New World.
Yeah, but no. I feel like even Into
Really?
the New World was...
Oh, I think they're so similar.
Real?
Yeah. Oh my gosh.
I did not like Rough at all.
No, Rough wasn't their first single.
Oh,
It was called Glass Bead. It came out.
So it must be better than Rough then.
It's very similar to Rough. They kind of had these like 3 singles. They had the Big Quick History, Tina, and for those who don't know.
Maybe it was just the voices. Maybe it's because Girls' Generation there are stronger voices on there that made the song a little bit more powerful to me.
Right.
Left more of an impression.
Sure, for sure. Yeah. No, that's legitimate. Yeah. I would say, they came out with a song called Glass Bead. It reminded me a lot of Into the New World and a lot of other fans.
I like Into the New World. Will this be like another song of theirs that I might like?
I mean, I would check it out. I remember they were saying they were almost too similar. So I always found that.
Okay.
And I remember being very curious. I'm like, well, this group can't just be a Girls' Generation tribute band, like they need to come out, they need to do it well, and they've done pretty well so far. Seemingly. They're doing well. So, I'm curious to kind of see how it all works out for GFriend with this release. Are people going to dig the new stylings? Are they going to like him? So, very curious. Of course, though, let us know what you guys think because, yeah, we just want to hear what you guys think. Oh, yeah, and of course, we ask you to vote every week on our poll on Fuse.tv. So who gets your vote this week, Tina?
This is tough.
It is tough.
And I say tough because I didn't love any of them.
Right. Nothing smashed me over
But I
the
didn't
head.
hate any of them.
Mhm.
I guess I'll go with Brave Girls because
Really?
I like the song.
Yeah.
Like the
I
song.
think I'm going to go with B.A.P this week
Okay.
because, I think it was a very much a step in the right direction. And maybe because I was expecting something very different. I was expected
That's
to
true.
like
That's
vicariously live through like a like a gangster movie,
Right.
but I didn't. So.
I think cohesively B.A.P did the best job for sure.
Yeah. So there we
Yeah.
go. That's where I'm coming from.
But watch like GFriend be number one.
Duh.
So,
Don't deny the G
I feel like
friends.
whoever we don't personally vote for is gonna be number one.
Oh gosh. That's not a bad thing. We love all our K-Stop listeners and we love all your tastes. So
And
thanks for voting.
Speaking of number ones and rankings, what
And
do we got for
the charts.
the charts?
We gotta quickly, of course, go through the top 5 K-pop songs on US iTunes right now. Interesting list this week. Okay, we're coming in at number 5, "Spring Day" by BTS.
Yes.
Still doing well. That song, I was listening to that song a lot this week.
I
enjoying
love it so much. I'm still not sick of it.
Yeah. Well, are you sick of at number 4? It's Not Today with BTS.
I still just don't listen to that song.
Yeah, that's okay.
I don't
No
know.
worries. Coming in at number 3, though, who finally surpassed BTS, was "Wake Me Up" by B.A.P.
Nice.
They're
Look
coming.
at that.
But this is interesting. Coming in at number 2, though, is GFriend with "Fingertip."
That is really weird.
Yeah, it's interesting because B.A.P is selling more albums than GFriend and the
Mhm.
others, but GFriend, the song is blowing. And B.A.P does quite well in America. So
I didn't realize I feel like GFriend, I guess I didn't realize that they did fairly well in,
at least for now.
overseas.
Yeah.
So,
And B.A.P also came out more recently, so that's interesting. But coming in at number 1 is Day 6's "How Can I Say." And we actually decided there were a lot of other releases, so we decided to take a break from the monthly Day 6 release. But Tina, why don't you give we know you love them, so
I
we
do
gotta
love them.
give us
I
a
will
mini
say
review.
this single is not really doing it for me.
Oh, no.
And I think it's just because I'm just generally not as familiar with rock,
Okay.
like
Yeah.
very instrumental rock, rather than rock influenced songs.
Uh-huh.
So just sonically, it's just not my ideal sound. I also just I don't know, I think something about Day 6 that I really have always loved was their sense of kind of being torn and yearning for, a relationship and being nostalgic. And I think for them to be so set in their feelings on this song, like,
You're like,
I don't
hey.
love you anymore. I'm like, oh my God. Okay. I was just like, I don't know if I like them being so
Right.
negative, and not negative, but just
Adamant, maybe.
yeah, and just almost like being on that end of I don't want you anymore. And I'm like, holy crap, I don't.
Hey,
it's
Day
just like,
6. Give me a little more emo next
I'm
time.
I'm just not used to it. I like them when they're a little softer or kind of more vulnerable.
Okay.
And they're not vulnerable on the song, and I guess I'm just not used to it.
Yeah.
I don't not like the song. I think they gotta switch it up, and so next month.
Next month.
Next month,
it'll
they'll
come
come
soon
back with
enough.
something
I always feel like
different.
they're back before I even realize it.
I
I'm like, oh, yeah.
because it's they're gonna be back every month. So
Yeah. We'll catch them next week. Next month,
yeah.
I mean.
Did you like the song?
I'll tell you next week.
Okay.
Sorry, like I said, I'm a little behind.
There's a lot happening.
I'm a little jet lagged. Okay.
There's a lot.
Please
happening.
deal with me. Please don't be too harsh. Okay. So I'll let you know next week.
Jeff
when I'm-
was busy covering other acts.
Yes, it was been an awesome, crazy time, with beautiful times. But last but not least, we got to get into our deep cut of this week. This is a little different maybe than what we usually talk about, but I think it's a really cool topic and I think it's interesting. Tina found this one, so thanks, Tina.
Yes.
Yeah, so this is sort of a new story that came out very recently, like this morning, I think. It was so we're actually reading it. Our source was from Soompi. Love Soompi. Shout out to
Shouts to
Soompi.
Soupy.
Love them forever. Read them, not other sites. Just kidding. Read everyone, except certain ones that lie. Anyway, the article's called Eight Major Entertainment Companies Face Reforms in Unfair Contract Clauses. And so basically, well, I'll just list them off. So it goes, eight major entertainment companies were revealed to have signed quote unquote slave contracts with their trainees, and sort of the Trade Commission, of Korea is investigating these companies, to kind of look to fix these kinds of contracts, I guess, like trying to make it fair for all workers involved, and more or less, looking out
for the employees and your labor, essentially.
Exactly. So who they checked out was, let's name our favorite act from every one of these. No, just kidding. It'd be pretty fun though. SM Entertainment, YG, JYP, Lowen, FNC, Cube, Jellyfish, and DSP Media.
For some reason, sorry, real random, but for some reason I always thought Lowen was more of a distributor.
It is. It's weird. They're like this company that sort of like is the all-in-one like Lowen is a distributor in addition to being also a company. Like I think technically IU is signed.
I was
gonna
say
Lowen.
IU is the only one I can think of off the top of my head.
She and Phi Star I know is signed to them.
Okay.
I think that's what they are. But yeah, they're kind of like, because SM and YG and JYP also distribute themselves. They don't do it through Lowen, but Lowen's sort of like, I don't know how they got to be that way, but that's sort of how they are. It's very interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, so kind of so basically, I guess did it happen already?
Yes.
Or is this suggestions? Okay.
No,
so
these have been modified, and that's another thing that I guess we'll get into later. I just wasn't sure if these are only applying to new trainees or if they are can be applied retro.
Oh, that's interesting.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I mean,
let's assume retroactively. But.
Yeah, I mean, let's just kind of get into like some of like the interesting stuff. So the first one was that they can no longer impose excessive penalties on contract cancellation. It says YG, JYP, FNC, Cube, Jellyfish, and DSP Media were imposing contract cancellation penalties of 2 to 3 times the amount invested in the trainee, which does.
So I guess like the amount. So some of this it can be a little gray, just because some trainees train for like 4 years versus some trainees are training for 7 years, and then what constitutes as being part of like the trainee life probably differs from agency to agency. But I think more or less it would involve like, studio time, like practices, coaching, food, housing.
Yeah. Right. So I guess, there I'm from what I'm reading kind of from here, it sounds like there will be penalties on these things, but it's not going to be as severe, because that's the thing, is that like, it really is sucky, because like you might join these things like when you're young, and then you think you have this dream, and then for whatever reason your dream might change, or you might realize that this is not for you, but by then you've not only sort of incurred this debt, but you're going to get this cancellation policy, or you're going to get this cancellation fee, and like all because you decided something when you're really young. I mean, I almost think about it like with like college, you're supposed to decide your major at age 17, at least in America, and then go to something where you're going to love it until age 22, and then graduate and supposed to find a job in it. And it's like lots of times life doesn't work out like that, and it's like people feel so, I don't know, stuck in where they are, and they feel like they need to finish it just because that's what they signed up for. And a lot of people end up so many people don't end up using their actual major or their degree, I should say, because they made a decision when they were 17. Of course things are going to change from then. And
for sure.
So I don't know. I actually heard that SM lets you decide if you want to re-up or continue on every 2 years. Which is probably why they're not being mentioned in this first part.
Right.
Is that, which I think almost it sounds fair enough, you know?
Yes.
Like, you can leave after 2 years, no questions asked. If it's been 2 years and you are not feeling this and you haven't debuted,
Right.
you're free to go, apparently.
Yeah. I think the first one, it like 150 million won, like that is a lot of money.
Yeah.
It's but I do understand that after X number of years of the company investing in you and
Right.
using so much of their resources in you, they need to somehow get some of that cost back, right? So I understand that penalties are necessary, but I think the key word here is excessive. And
Yeah.
I mean, like, if you think about it, like these families or these trainees and their families to pay upwards of like 150K,
Mm-hmm.
how do you even, like, if you can't
Yeah.
afford that, how do you pay?
Right.
So
Are you just in
can't.
debt for forever?
Yeah.
It's like, yeah. So that's, it's so tough, and maybe it's
And
kind
this
of
is
like
pretty much violated by all of them, right?
the what?
Except for SM is not listed. The majority of these
Yeah.
companies are all guilty of this.
Yeah, 6 out of the 8. Let's see. They just don't mention SM and Lowen. So that's interesting that they're not mentioned. Yeah, and it also just sounds like, the next one the next sort of thing kind of comes with that too, forcing artists to renew their contract
This
after
is
expiration.
the one that was wild to me.
Really?
Because you would think that when a contract expires, you're free.
Oh.
That's like that's the point of a contract. It's signed for a number of years with a certain number of conditions, right?
Right.
And if it expires, shouldn't everything in that contract expire?
Right. But instead, we're hearing that JYP, Cube, and DSP pressured their artists to renew the contracts after expiration and forced them to return a sum double the amount invested to them.
If they don't renew that sounds like blackmail.
It almost, it sounds inappropriate is what it, and that's crazy too, is that ideally, if you made enough money, you'd be able to pay it off, but still that's a little crazy. And maybe, that's interesting too, because maybe that's why sometimes like the smaller artists, like not as popular artists tend to re-up their contracts, because they're like, I don't want to pay that. I might as well just stay with the company. So very interesting. But I guess
and it's crazy, like as we go on, I feel like the general not the general, but one of the big takeaways that fans seem to be talking about is the fact that JYP is listed under so many of these.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Or more than they would expect. JYP and YG.
Right.
So
those seem like the ideal companies to be with.
Right, exactly. And like we'll talk about it more as we go on, but it just seems like SM isn't listed as much as people would have expected. And then JYP and YG, which are painted by at least international fans as being these families and companies that really care for their artists, whereas just based on this article doesn't necessarily, at least on paper, it doesn't seem like that.
Yeah, and SM's kind of famous for their sort of contract issues and stuff like that.
Their slave labor contracts.
Yeah, but maybe they figured it out sooner than later, but yeah. But yeah, with that last point we were talking about, I guess the Fair Trade Council modified the clause, allowing companies to only begin preliminary negotiations with the artist upon the expiration of a contract, which I don't know if that actually helps anyone in the end, but it sounds.
To only begin preliminary negotiations with the artist upon. I just don't understand. If you're expired, like, aren't you done?
Right. Maybe it's just the idea that.
Why do they have to still entertain any talk about the contract if it's expired? I just think maybe something's lost in translation, because that just doesn't make any sense.
It's possible. Yeah, or maybe the only reason I could think that maybe works too is that, like, maybe the company will see what the company is like without this person in their company, and then it's kind of a fairer assessment for both people to kind of come at and attack. I don't know. Hopefully this isn't too over our pay grade.
That one's
but
definitely hyper problematic. Like, that's just messed up.
It's crazy. I mean, wow. Um,
Number
Number
3.
3 was canceling contracts immediately without notice. The clause permitting agencies to immediately cancel a contract without prior notice was changed to include a grace period, giving the two parties time to work out their conflicts. This clause was previously part of contracts at Low and YG, Cube, JYP, and DSP. So that's interesting
So it's
too.
basically like you're on probation almost.
Yeah, it sounds like it. Like, instead of, um, well, I mean, like, look at what happened with, like, Winner, or the, Nam Taehyun from Winner. It seems like he kind of got forced out or whatever. Um,
Right.
and maybe this would. I mean, we don't know obviously what goes on behind the scenes and stuff like that, but it does sound like, at the very least, this person is going to be out of the job automatically. Maybe because maybe that was happening. Canceling contracts for ambiguous reasons has also been modified. The clause that allowed SM Entertainment, FNC, and DSP to cancel a contract based on unclear or arbitrary reasons was removed. But that's very subjective.
That's also reasonable though. Just because, like, for example, in the U.S., HR, they are they're sometimes hit with lawsuits because they fired somebody without, like, a real reason or a real purpose, and they didn't get an explanation.
Yeah.
So, and I don't know the ins and outs of HR and firing people, but that's as someone who has friends who work in HR, that's a big that's a big concern.
Yeah, no, and it probably gives peace of mind also to the people working and the trainees a little bit too.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
The number 5 thing that's being changed was forcing trainees to pay penalties immediately, which this sounds very reasonable. The clause forcing trainees to pay penalties immediately upon infringement of the contract was changed to strictly follow the Korean civil law. That sounds pretty reasonable. I think following civil law is normal. Limiting jurisdiction over legal cases to the Seoul Central District Court. This is very something that's I don't know, like maybe a little over our heads. But, like, yeah, it says the clause limiting legal cases regarding trainee contracts to be dealt with solely at the Seoul Central District Court was modified to include all other authorized courts. So maybe if, like, you're from a smaller town and, you go back home, you can at least...
There's just at least more of a chance that the case will be picked up, I guess.
I guess so, yeah.
So that's more or less what I take away from it. Yeah,
And then in the end, they just said the head of the contract evaluation team at KFTC, that's the Korean Fair Trade Commission, explained the protection of trainee rights will be strengthened further with the rectification of agencies' contracts with trainees. This will create an environment for agencies and trainees to sign fair contracts with each other. So essentially, this is probably something that we don't really see or know about, just as people on the outside or as international fans. But, maybe there is this whole kind of culture of people who train for so long and then they're cut before things, happen, or, maybe there's an unemployment rate that we're not even realizing,
and there are so many trainees who never debut.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. So maybe this is sort of like a, especially at those humongous companies that take in a lot of trainees, but not a lot of people are debuting, like SM and JYP and Cube and YG and stuff like that.
I think also I'm just wondering, even if all of these were written in the contracts, I guess they don't say which companies were more prone to actually exercise those rules, right? Not that it makes it that much better because they wrote them in the contract in the first place, but sometimes, like, companies, they do have these as just like for security purposes, so that they have leverage. They write it in the contract so that they have the ability to do that, but the chances of them actually doing this are slim. I don't know. I'm just like playing devil's advocate. Like,
well, I almost feel like, though, if an issue were to arise with a trainee, similar to these things, they could at least fall back on those protections and maybe not owe so much money or not. Because I've never heard of a story. I'm sure there are stories like that, but, like, it's not very glamorous. But, like, trainee who never debuted after 12 years of training now owes 2 million won or something, something like that. Like, it could just be, these really crazy stories that maybe we're just not privy to or not aware of. But I'm really curious to kind of see, if there's more discussion about this or if more people talk about it or
I want to know what the company's representatives are saying, because this doesn't make them look good at all, of course.
no, you're right. There's been no statements either.
So maybe those will come in the coming days, especially from YG, because YG, everyone always thinks like YG family. And,
yeah, they get to record with the music they love.
Right,
and
right.
They're so laid back. I'm also curious, too, like why these are pretty big companies, but like, does that mean there hasn't been as many issues with other companies like that weren't listed here or like
Yeah, I don't know.
like
I don't know the conditions of which ones were investigated.
yeah or like were they not, was everyone investigated or were only the big ones investigated and then
right.
they checked it out, but like there's
I want to
definitely
know what Starship. I'm like, what Starship's like rating?
I know I want to know what I want to know what Pledis is like. I want to
Right.
know
I feel like Jellyfish was a little not random, but
they have a lot of
it's
actors.
a little
I feel
smaller.
like yeah right. It's or TS Entertainment, who a lot of people have issues with,
right.
seem to have,
Yes, yeah.
But
Which one of these do you personally find the most problematic?
of all the issues,
Yeah.
it's like I don't know. It's like it's tough for me to exactly empathize with this one, but it sounds like I really don't like that first one, the excessive penalties on contract cancellation, because like I was kind of saying before, like I do kind of I never or yeah, I do kind of connect with this, like finding, if you realize you're not, this path is not meant for you, but you just have all this crippling debt on you, like that's either going to force you into a life you don't want to go to, or just have a crazy amount of debt. I mean, I don't like the, being able to cancel contracts without notice or for ambiguous reasons. Like that's really screwed up.
Yeah.
But I mean, forcing artists to renew their contract after expiration, that's a little sketchy.
That's definitely the most problematic for me. I just don't understand how, I can't even fathom why that's even part of the contract.
That's crazy.
Then what is the purpose of you signing the contract? So like, even if the contract ends, then you still don't necessarily have say in whether you can walk away.
Right. Like, how did all those like 4-minute girls like pay that back? Like, that's just crazy.
Now I'm just even more curious about what went down behind closed doors for all these artists who have recently walked away.
Exactly, because we've been seeing so many. I'm thinking about the Wonder Girls. I'm thinking about 4-minute. I'm thinking about Gina. I'm thinking about Beast. I mean, especially.
Maybe they did just pay the hefty fines.
Yeah. Well, and I'm wondering too if those are the rules in place, but there is room for negotiation.
Yeah.
I'm sure these people aren't monsters, but at the same time, like, it sounds really harsh. Like, like if a group doesn't work out, oh my gosh, like. But in any case, I just hope everyone's happy. I hope everyone turns out okay. And that it would all lead to a better day in K-pop. Right? That's all we're hoping for.
So, but yeah, if anyone reads any follow-up articles in Korean that haven't been translated yet,
please let us know.
Regarding, whether this is applied only to artists going forward or if it is applied to current artists, like it's working retroactively.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Anything about companies responding to these, let us know. Please
do, yes, and let us know about all the topics we talked about this week. Brave Girls, GFriend, B.A.P. We want to hear it all. Yes. So thanks so much for listening.
And we will be back next week when I am a year older.
Yay! Love it. Hashtag K-Stop Tina's birthday party. What was the going on? The K-Stop 1 year party, 1 year anniversary party or something.
1 year of K-Stop.
1 year of K-Stop party. Yeah, 1 year, one more year of Tina party. All right, guys. Thank you as always. This has been Jeff.
And this is Tina.
We'll see you next week. Bye-bye.